Pokémon, the series that brought us a lawnmower, a pair of keys, garbage, and more garbage. It's crazy to imagine that it's been more than 25 years since the introduction of Pokemon on the Game Boy, and we have come a long way since, so it would only be right for the Pokemon Company to celebrate the origins, the beginnings of the Pokemon franchise, with a remake of a true classic, Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. What's that? They actually didn't remake the Kanto region for the 100th time? Anyways, a new remake taking place in a region we've been dying to return to for such a long time was finally happening. Oh yeah, and some new style game too. Now, about way more than a year ago, I gave my thoughts about what I expected and hoped to see in the games, and for the most part, it was me hoping for a lot and expecting none of it to actually happen. I made some good expectations for the most part. I didn't expect the characters would look like this though. As a matter of fact, I didn't really expect anything big because leading into the release of these games, we really didn't hear about anything new or groundbreaking. Yes, the Underground was told to be revamped along with the Heart Home contest, but in terms of what we've seen in the last remakes, we didn't hear about anything crazy like new forms or a special post-game episode of any kind. But we finally have our hands on these remakes. And here I am, years after the release of not just those games, but the games that came after that, and over a year since the newest generation started, talking about a game everyone probably doesn't remember anymore. Well, let's actually take a look at these games, determine how they were handled, where they stand as a remake, and seeing if it's really worth giving these games at least another look. Let's begin with the adventure itself. These games are yet another Pokemon journey with a familiar aim of exploring all the sights, sounds, and Pokemon along the way. Attempt to complete the Pokédex and be the very best like no one ever was, yeah. Starting the adventure in the small town of Twinleaf, we, meaning me and this idiot, hear the news of a rare Pokemon spotted by the local lake, and we decide to make plans to check it out. Of course, since we don't have Pokemon of our own, our mom tells us to make sure we avoid the tall grass at all costs. Wouldn't want to defy mother. We visit the lake and wow, nothing there but oh my gosh, this music's beautiful. Sorry. We visit the lake and find a suitcase that the professor left behind. Great. I'm going back to sleep. Oh, okay. I guess we're defying mother's orders now. I just wanted to sleep. Now we're being attacked. What am I supposed to do? We have this suitcase. What? Is there a Pokemon inside? It's gonna save us? Of the three options, we have the Grass Starter Turtwig, the Fire Starter Chimchar, and the Water Starter Piplup. And I've got to be honest, this is one of the few generations where I actually have a hard time choosing a starter. Like, I could choose Piplup for the nostalgia of my first run, but all the three starters are actually really good, especially when they are fully evolved. Oh my goodness, would you just shut up already? Yeah, just give me the Piplup. Oh, the bird died. Alright, well, all's well that ends well as we defend ourselves against the ferocious Starly, but the professor's assistant returns to get the forgotten briefcase, all to realize that we opened it and took all the Pokemon inside. But to our defense, finders keepers. Regardless, we bump into the professor, who then summons us to his lab in order to give us our punishment, determined by how our starter Pokemon feels about us. However, with careful analysis, he determines that maybe we might be the right people to take care of these Pokemon, so long as we help him with the Pokédex and his research on Pokemon evolution. That's right, no old-fashioned punishment of death for us. And thus officially begins our Pokemon journey in the Sinnoh region with our Piplup. We continue into the next route where Dawn, the professor's assistant, teaches us how to catch Pokemon, and we enter our very first trainer battle. So, in terms of the battle mechanics, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl is just like any other Pokemon game with a turn-based system where you can choose the moves you want to use for that turn. Some cause status or in-battle effects, and others are just full-on attacks on the opponent. Each Pokemon has its own typing, meaning it'll have certain weaknesses and resistances based on what type it is. And in case you were wondering, yes, the fairy typing is in this game, which means Spiritomb actually has a weakness. The bad news for anyone hoping for the addition of Dynamax and Gigantamax or the return of Mega Evolution, neither are in the game. It's a pretty standard Pokemon game, just like the originals were in terms of battle mechanics, but I'm just glad we are all able to agree that nobody's disappointed that Z moves did not return in this game, because we all agree it's shit. Anyways, we continue our adventure visiting each city and route, meeting new people, catching more Pokemon, and training them up, which is incredibly easy to do because of the enforced EXP share, giving EXP to everyone on the team, which I thought made the game way too easy until near the end when I learned I was very much mistaken. But I'm getting too far ahead of myself because the current goal is just to beat all the gym leaders in the region. Of course, Pokemon gyms are all typed based, where the gym is of one typing and the gym leader who you must face consists of a whole team with Pokemon of that typing. Except, you would be completely wrong in saying that, because they decided to go with the Diamond and Pearl Pokédex for these remakes, which makes no sense, because some of these gyms consist of, you guessed it, Pokemon that have absolutely nothing to do with the typing of this stupid gym. Why is there a water type in the electric gym? You didn't even use Charge Beam once! But I will admit, even though I flawlessly beat all these gyms with ease because I'm a Pokemon professional, the gym Pokemon were actually well equipped and prepared to battle with moves and even held items that actually benefited them in battle. And the cool thing about these remakes is that they will actually allow you to rematch them in the post-game, where they will have an even stronger team providing a genuine challenge if you thought it was too easy on the first go. The same goes for the Elite Four and Champion, where they can be rematched with their actual Pokemon Platinum teams and then an even stronger team on the second rematch. Oh, but again, I'm getting way too far ahead of myself because come on, I barely just beat one gym. I mean, it was a piece of cake though. I mean, you know, that water on rock stuff works wonders. So off we go to the next gym in Eterna, where along the way we're introduced to the villainous team of the games, Team Galactic. What the hell are they wearing? At the beginning of the game, it seemed like they were just simple Pokemon thieves trying to snatch as many Pokemon as possible while looking as stupid as possible. But as the story goes along, we clearly see that there's more happening behind the scenes as they start stealing energy and looking at Sinnoh myths and legends. Personally, Team Galactic is my second favorite villainous Pokemon group in the entire series. I mean, how can you hate a Pokemon team that actually uses a bomb? Sure, they tossed it into a lake, but hey, less Magikarp to deal with. Sounds more like a community service to me. Also, quick step in, Chibi Mars. Why does Chibi Mars look freaking adorable? I mean, new Mars model? Get the f out of here. It's all about Chibi Mars. Now, something I was really excited for when arriving in Eterna City was meeting up with the Underground Man, who would give us an Explorer kit to be able to visit the Grand Underground. And man, coming down here hit me with a blast of nostalgia. I talked in the past how the only reason I got into Pokemon was literally because of the Underground feature in the original Diamond and Pearl games, and they brought it back. And it up! On the surface, it seems like the same underground, but you would be sorely mistaken. Here you can mine for spheres and treasures in the wall, which is honestly about the same as in the previous games, with the only real change being that you're using controllers rather than smashing the stylus on the screen. They even added areas in the underground where you could battle and find wild Pokemon, which was really cool. They each had very nice environments, a great selection of Pokemon to be encountered, and apparently it was great for finding shiny Pokemon. Not that the unluckiest shiny hunter knows anything about finding a shiny. But from here is where it all goes downhill for me. For starters, and I already said this, BDSP goes with the Diamond and Pearl regional dex, which is incredibly limited in its options. However, for some reason, they still decided to add Pokemon outside of the regional dex and make them accessible the very moment you enter the underground, which confuses me even more honestly. Why would you allow players to catch these Pokemon early if none of the trainers have these Pokemon because they aren't even part of the regional dex to begin with? But that's such a minor discrepancy. Nothing compared to the complete removal of base customization and the Capture the Flag minigame. Now I know what you're thinking, but Brian, they did bring back base customization. Well, sure, you can customize your base to make it look like a museum, I guess. And I understand that these statues help determine what type of Pokemon are likely to appear in the hideaways, but I remember the enjoyment of completely customizing your base in the Hoenn and especially the Sinnoh games, putting items that add a comfy feel while you lay maze blocks and traps to fend off against other enemies. Which reminds me, they took away traps too! It was hilarious to see your friends fall into one of the traps that you would lay on the map, followed by falling into your own trap because you forgot you placed one over there. Which brings us to my main issue. No Capture the Flag game. In Diamond and Pearl, Capture the Flag was an absolutely fun minigame to play with friends, where you would go around other players' bases and try to steal their flags and take it all the way back to your own base. The more flags you stole, the more you were able to unlock, such as the ability to remove boulders in your base, because I swear there were a ton of them in there. It was such an enjoyable activity, and it's so disappointing that it got removed. I get that they were going for a more open experience by having many players connect either online or locally and join together to dig treasure and find Pokemon, but I really do consider this version of the Underground as a downgrade from the original. Imagine if they kept the features and just added online connectivity. I think that would have been awesome. I do not, however, miss sphere farming. That took f***ing forever. I absolutely hated it, especially if it was a paler prism sphere. Oh gosh. There was another feature that they did update aside from the underground, being the Heart Home Contest Hall. Yes, believe it or not, I love doing contests in Diamond and Pearl. The dress-up portion was kind of meh, but what the heck do I know about fashion? But the dance portion along with the performance portion were absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, we're talking about BDSP here, and they not only decided to smush everything together into 1 minute, they pretty much just threw away the dress-up portion entirely. I mean, come on, at least let me throw a hat on or something. As for the 1 minute show, that's it!
That was just a bunch of cheap walk cycles! What a rip!
Literally all you have to do is play an insanely simple rhythm game, and oh, if you want to spice things up, you can press X to use a contest move. That's it. That's all there is. There are no tactics to see how you can gain the judges' points and screw opponents up. And to be fair, the rhythm portion does get harder as you rank up, but I do feel similar to how I felt with the Underground, that this was kind of done better in the original games. But don't worry, because a lot of things did make a return in these games. The Great Marsh returns, which pretty much nothing changed. A mini square returns, but really it only has two purposes. One, making poffins with your Pokemon, and two, getting the ability to walk with your Pokemon on the overworld of the entire region, which itself is a hit or miss feature, not gonna lie. It's absolutely fantastic that they added it into the games, but some of the Pokemon scaling done is a bit rough. I mean, Palkia looks like a freaking toy. The fight area makes a return, and would you look at that? It's just the battle tower! Again! I knew they wouldn't add the entire Battle Frontier, but I still don't understand why they refuse to do it. But at least they don't hide the fact that it's a Battle Tower facility. Battle Tree, it's just nature's Battle Tower. Battle Mason, fancy Battle Tower. Battle Subway, Battle Tower on wheels. However, there was a big change at a facility available in the postgame, being Ramanas Park. What was formerly the PAL Park, where transferred Pokemon from Generation 3 could be obtained in the Generation 4 games, Ramanas Park is where you can encounter legendary Pokemon. And I will admit, it's really cool that the way to obtain them is with these slates that are literally in the shape of past handheld cartridges. That's simply awesome. Those slates can be placed on a pedestal where you enter a room where you will find the legendary and be able to battle it. And just a heads up, there are version exclusives, so be aware of that. But now I'm sure you're wondering the big question. Does Masuda let us test our odds for coins? A big f***ing no. Yeah, Happy Fun Time machines do not make a return in these games, which sucks. Yet, makes sense, knowing kids these days would throw their cash on Pokemon cards rather than machines that offer incredibly unlikely chance at monetary gain. However, they did replace it with a clothing shop filled with average clothing. I'm not gonna lie, you can't even buy the outfit based on the Pokemon Platinum designs, which makes no sense. To my knowledge, it was a limited time event that is no longer active, which is honestly just stupid. Oh well, at least they kept this jamming song. Overall, the soundtrack of this game is actually really good. A lot of the music was well remade to really add to the tone and emotion of the song. The lake theme had a mystical sense to it, and the same thing could be said about Eternal Forest, which, holy sh**, that was what I needed for these remakes. A lot of the battle themes were also really good. The Team Galactic Run and Commander themes were absolute jams, but then comes Cynthia's theme, which I am honestly not a big fan of, and I swear it's not because battling her was a nightmare. Something about this just isn't the same as the original theme. Aside from that and a couple other songs, I'm actually a pretty big fan of the soundtrack. However, if you aren't a fan of the songs, they created a post-game item where the original DS versions will be played via the DS sounds, which is the best callback to the GB sounds from Heart Gold Soul Silver. Now, I'm sure everyone remembers when an early version of the game went out to reviewers. Some of the music was kind of strange, like this trainer theme song that's playing. Everyone was panicking, and I was sitting there being like, this is literally placeholder songs. And yeah, better versions of the songs were added, but only after an update for the game, which means I still have a game with janky music and glitches. Yeah, the release of these games was a fucking mess. I don't really want to blame Ilka for this. The developers were fantastic for the most part, but the Pokemon Company's scheduling constraints have been a bit of a concern for a while now, and they've only gotten worse. But these games needed to be released with multiple updates and patches just to add and fix some features and glitches in the game. But of all the glitches and issues we could talk about, I want to talk about the fun yet unexpected one, surf glitching. This was literally something that would have you surfing on the ground, which if done correctly could help you get out of the map boundaries on an adventure through a black void in search of other connected maps, which does include New Moon Island and whatever the flower path for Shaman was. And it was awfully reminiscent of the void glitch in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, which is very strange that they saw the void glitch as a better feature to return, but not the fucking Battle Frontier. But the glitches outside of the initial version really never caused any major issues, and now with all the patches released, everything runs as it should, and all the features were finally implemented, such as the Global Wonder Station where you can wonder trade in-game. And as I stated already, the mythical Pokemon events did make their return into the games. The mystery gift items to obtain the Pokemon are no longer available, which makes no fucking sense, but the in-game events involving Darkrai and Shaman are in the game's code, which this should be how you introduce mythical Pokemon. None of this mystery gift crap where they just hand it to you. Add some game maps and make you earn that Pokemon. They even did something even more unexpected. They added the original Arceus event, the one that you had to go to Mount Cordet and play the flute. This was an event that was in the codes of the other Sinnoh games, but just never got released because apparently it made no sense. But now with Legends Arceus adding a bit more understanding to the whole Arceus lore, they brought it back, which is pretty awesome. It was really cool to see a lot of the things BDSP kept the same and brought back from the original titles. As Pokemon games, they are a traditional take to the series, going back to the days when there were no crazy battle mechanics, characters were tiny, and champion battles were a genuine struggle. And overall, it really holds to its identity as a Diamond and Pearl remake, which is also my biggest criticism. These games are very faithful, where practically everything from the visual concept to the features to the story and even the Pokemon are on par with the original games, which is fine. Part of the enjoyment of playing remakes is just reliving the emotions felt from playing the original games, but at the same time, there should be some factors that build from the originals. They did change up the underground and contests, I guess, but nothing really changed from the story itself. I kinda expected there to be some sort of Platinum episode that would continue the Sinnoh stories and maybe reveal more about the Sinnoh legends and maybe even the mythical Pokemon. Although, that is what we got with Legends Arceus, so I'm not completely upset. But I am a little disappointed that they solely stuck with Diamond and Pearl for everything. They went with the Diamond and Pearl regional decks, which again, lacks in Pokemon, which is why some of the Gym and the Elite Four members would have random Pokemon not of their typing. There are also some big features from Platinum that would have been more exciting to see, such as the Distortion World. I know the location where you encounter Giratina's origin form may resemble the Distortion World, but imagine being able to explore the Distortion World in the same way as Platinum allowed you to. They also could have added the Battle Frontier facility, which honestly, that would have been pretty awesome, but at this point, I just don't know why I keep holding on to hope. And they never gave me my free f***ing mansion. I guess my biggest complaint at this point is that they didn't make Platinum remakes. I think compared to the other Sinnoh titles, these remakes are still an upgrade to the original Diamond and Pearl, but not a major upgrade, and honestly gave me the same levels of pain at times. Pokemon Platinum still remains the definitive rendition of the Sinnoh games in my opinion. It built on all of Diamond and Pearl's flaws while adding even more features and enjoyment beyond that. But on the plus side, this game can look absolutely amazing at times. I know chibi characters is not everyone's cup of tea, but I'm honestly fine with it and it doesn't really bother me too much. Plus, remember, Chibi Mars! But when I look around through the city, looking at the lighting and even seeing the water itself, it all looks absolutely fantastic. It's just a much more vibrant environment compared to the realism of Sword and Shield. Except for Route 215. Feels like I'm going down a path to depression. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl is a fun and enjoyable Pokemon game, letting us relive the days of exploring the Sinnoh region on the Nintendo DS, now on the Nintendo Switch. And honestly, I'm just happy playing through at least one modern Pokemon game that can properly handle whatever's happening on the screen. Oh gosh.